Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another spooky episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast.
I'm Gabe.
Oh, and I'm Nikki. And we are
the Theme Park Duo. You know, it doesn't even matter. Season 4. Doesn't matter. Already dropping the ball on episode 2, you know, that's just how we roll. The ball rolls away from us.
Roll. Yeah.
Away from us. Very far away. Anyway, welcome to episode 2 of season 4. If you guys haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, check out the reviews on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening to, because you can leave us a written review there and help us out. It always helps out the show and makes it easier for people to find us and enjoy us like you are right now. Now, Nikki said it was going to be a spooky episode.
Yeah.
She ain't lying. It is going to get super spooky up in here. We have our good friend of the show, Rick West, on the episode to talk theme park ghost stories.
Awesome. What a cool topic.
I know, right? It's something that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about. I know that our friends at UUOP did an episode of kind of like Universal ghost stories from Universal Orlando, which that was a great episode. But nobody that I know of personally, I mean, I'm sure they exist, has done an episode about theme park ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, ghost sightings, experiences, and I can guarantee you're probably going to get a couple chills just from a few of the stories that we're sharing here on today's episode.
What if, I just had this thought, what if you saw a ghost at Disneyland and you didn't even know because you thought it was just like another guest walking around?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. And I mean, just like the episode where we talked about Queen Mary in season 3, you know, they were talking about how people would see, just it would look like a normal human and wouldn't realize it was a ghost until they just disappeared when they looked back. So you never know.
Ooh, I have the chills already, and not just because it's cold.
Yeah, Nikki's all babushka'd out. She has a blanket wrapped around her shoulders and her head.
Slippers on.
And she is like actually in good theming right now.
It's
actually
a ghost blanket.
It's a black blanket with white sheet ghosts all over it. You're in theme for today's episode. Very good. I'm proud of you.
It's
Themed entertainment
completely
podcast.
Intentional.
Themed blanket for podcast.
Yes.
But before we jump into the main topic and the main meat of the episode today, let's jump into the Theme Park Bulletin. First up on the Theme Park Bulletin, we have the announcement that Knott's Boysenberry Festival is returning March 20th through April 19th.
Yes, I'm so excited.
This is one of our favorite food-oriented events of the year.
Yep.
Always delicious, delicious foods. Even the ones that we were like, I don't know about that one.
They surprise us.
Remember, like, the ravioli? We read the boysenberry ravioli on the list, and we're like, what the crap is up with that? Like, that sounds horrible.
Even more so than that, I was completely sure that the boysenberry pizza was going to be disgusting.
And both were some of our
amazing.
favorites.
Yeah.
They were both some of our favorites.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to see what they have this year.
I know, there's a whole list. I'm about to read through a list of things, and be prepared because you are going to leave listening to this segment hungry.
My mouth is pre-watering.
It's pre-watering?
Yeah.
It's not into the watering phase yet. It's pre-watering.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, it's already watering before you read the list.
Cool. Don't do that. Anyway, Knott's Boysenberry Festival is an annual food-inspired event that celebrates the park's historic roots by highlighting the little berry that started it all, the boysenberry. This year's festival will feature more than 75 unique boysenberry-inspired creations crafted by the Knott's culinary team. Guests will have the opportunity to indulge in a tantalizing lineup of dishes ranging from savory foods with a boysenberry twist to one-of-a-kind specialty desserts and drinks that can only be found at Knott's Berry Farm during this time of year. In addition to the numerous food and drink offerings, the Knott's Boysenberry Festival offers a wide selection of local crafters, live music, musical stage shows, and fun activities for guests of all ages to enjoy. The Knott's Boysenberry Festival runs 31 days, starting March 20th, operating daily through April 19th, 2020. This year's event will introduce an entirely new food lineup featuring a selection of 26 food and drink tasting items.
Whoa.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Get ready for this list. It's a long list of foods.
Lordy.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Oh, I see boysenberry sangria on there.
Oh my god, calm down. You're getting ahead of schedule here.
I read the list.
I like how your eyes gravitated to the only alcoholic beverage on the list.
Sorry.
It's not the only one. I'm just making fun of you.
Yeah.
Refreshing lemonade with basil and boysenberry.
Nice.
Boysenberry beer cheese soup with a boysenberry drizzle topped with brown butter croutons. Sauteed Brussels sprouts topped with boysenberry balsamic and bacon. Tender beef tips served with creamy boysenberry mashed potatoes. Rich chocolatey boysenberry chicken mole on cilantro rice.
Dang, you're excited
Boysenberry cilantro, could you not tell in the intonation of my voice?
Yeah, you got excited while you were
Boysenberry Cajun shrimp served over a bed of buttery grits. Oh, that sounds awesome. Did you know that was my nickname in college? Buttery grits?
Buttery grits.
Buttery grits was my nickname in college.
I thought it was Cajun shrimp.
No, just buttery grits. Yo, buttery grits, we're about to go play basketball. 2 chicken drumsticks bathed in boysenberry barbecue sauce. Hearty boysenberry steak chili with an oven-roasted boysenberry cornbread muffin.
Oh, that
samosas with boysenberry chutney.
Oh.
Pork bao bun dumplings with a boysenberry kimchi and nam pla. I don't know what that is.
It sounds good, though.
I think it's a sauce.
Okay.
Citrusy boysenberry ceviche with crispy tortilla chips. A sweet boysenberry smoothie packed with fruity flavors. I'm assuming boysenberry flavors. Homemade crunchy chips paired with a zesty boysenberry onion dip. Grilled boysenberry sausage in a bun with boysenberry ketchup. Elote rolled in boysenberry mayo topped with boysenberry tortilla crumble and tortilla cheese. That is, I just fist pumped. No one can see it, but I fist pumped because that was my favorite from like the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Let's see. Creamy mac and cheese bites with a tangy boysenberry ketchup.
Nice.
Glazed donut holes with a rich boysenberry ice cream and topped with boysenberry coulis. Boysenberry bread pudding topped with boysenberry coulis.
Oh my god.
And Angelese sauce. I don't know how to pronounce that. Angelese? Samantha? I don't know. Hot pastrami sandwich on a pretzel bun with boysenberry mustard. Boysenberry macaroon, a sensational French dessert. Churros powdered with boysenberry sugar. Extra creamy boysenberry ice cream. Boysenberry beer, wine, and mimosas.
Boysenberry mimosa.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. We can't bring Aaron on this trip.
Because Nikki will not be functioning.
No, I just want mimosas.
You can have mimosas and have Aaron there.
That's
it's fine.
true. I just can't have too many mimosas.
Yeah.
It's okay. They're probably expensive.
Probably.
Yeah.
And though I mean they're probably within the fair range of amount of like whatever alcohol is at all theme parks.
I know. That's true.
Which is generally a little more expensive than it would normally be, but I mean it's typical range.
It's fine. No, but when you hear the word mimosa, you think of like brunch with bottomless mimosas.
Yeah, but you ain't
not
getting
what's
bottomless
happening
nothing here.
No.
At any food festival.
Regardless, boysenberry mimosa sounds amazing.
And then on top of that, you have entertainment. Then at Snoopy's Boysenberry Jamboree, so they've had that the last few years. Riverboat Revenge.
What?
What is that? Knott's pays tribute to its past as the legendary Birdcage Theater with a special presentation of the brand new comedy melodrama Riverboat Revenge, all aboard the Boysenberry Bon Voyage.
Do you want to hear the joke that went through my head?
Yes, go for it.
They already did that on the Jungle Cruise.
Yes, they did.
The boat got
It sank. If you guys didn't know, the 2 boats at Magic Kingdom sank on the Jungle Cruise. Yes. Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies. Boysenberry Fun and Games. So that one is get in on the fun and some of the craziest, messiest games along with the famous Boysenberry Pie eating contest.
That's what they have in the town square.
Yes.
Yeah, like every
Calico
hour.
Square.
Yeah, they have different games. Super fun.
Mm-hmm. And then Old McDonald's Farm, Knott's Totally Tubular 80s Dance Party, Boysenberry Blues, musical performances, DJ Cruise, history of the Boysenberry. So there's obviously a lot going on during Boysenberry Festival at Knott's.
Yeah.
And it really feels like every single year they just add and add and add and add till it really feels like a complete full-fledged event, like on the level of like a Merry Farm, on the level of a Haunt, something like that. Like the whole place is completely inundated with Boysenberry.
Oh yeah.
Love, which is great.
No, I'd say besides like, Scary Farm, it's like the most all-encompassing event. It seems like.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
even like
Mary Farm is close.
Mary Farm is close, but like Ghost Town Alive is just Ghost Town. Peanut Celebration is pretty much only select areas of the park. Boysenberry Festival like explodes everywhere, and you got the craft fair, and there's just so much to do. It's the best.
You heard it here first. Watch out for exploding boysenberries.
That would be so much fun.
No, it wouldn't. That's terrifying. You just like you have boysenberry in your hand. You don't know which one's
not
gonna
like
pop
all
in your
day long.
face.
But what if it was like a fun run? But they
people
just, like,
chucking boysenberries at you.
Yeah, and then you're like splattered like in a color
Well, I guess
run.
that's not so bad.
Yeah, and it's tasty.
Somebody would take it way too far and just like wind up, like throw it as hard as they can at someone's face.
Well, it would be regulated throws, not just
How are you
random
going to
people.
regulate people's throws?
Because it would be like workers.
Oh.
I'm talking like pre-park opening.
I don't.
Okay.
I can't read your mind.
Obviously, this
I can't
isn't
read
gonna
your mind.
happen because who's gonna clean up all the boysenberry off the floor?
I don't know.
That's why it's not.
All the chickens that live across the street.
Oh.
If you guys don't know,
Purple eggs.
if you guys don't know, across the street from Knott's Berry Farm, where they have the parking lot, one of the parking lots, there's just chickens that roam around. Chickens and roosters. So in the mornings, you have roosters going off
They have
like
no
crazy.
idea about the restaurant right across the street.
No, they don't. They don't know about the atrocities that happen across the street.
There was one time where we were waiting to go into the water park, and we were sitting on a bench, and we were like surrounded by chickens. I think we
surrounded.
didn't we keep like feeding them bits of Belvita or something?
Yeah, it was like
something to
pretzel
keep them
or
close.
bread or something. Yeah, but they were all around
It was
us.
really
We have a
fun.
video somewhere.
Yeah,
of
we
that.
do. They started following you.
It was scary. I was scared for my
Well,
life.
after the rooster came over, yeah.
Yeah, because he was like all strutting over, like I'm gonna mess you up.
He was fluffing his tail feathers.
Anyway, moving away from the scary chicken story to something a little bit more bright and sunny.
Yeah.
Something like summer.
Yeah.
Maybe the Endless Summer Resort at Universal. Segway. So we have our first look at Universal's Endless Summer Resort, Dockside Inn and Suites, which I was actually really excited to hear about this this addition to the Universal Orlando Resort. I always like hearing additions placed hotel-wise to resorts just because it gives a lot more offerings for people visiting the resorts, and whether or not it's the higher end or more the median end or lower end value resorts, I still like having something that's an additional.
Is this dockside? Is it going to be like Cabana Bay level?
I honestly not quite sure. I think it might be because it says starting as low as $79 per night.
Yeah, that's Cabana Bay level.
During value season, it says.
Okay.
So it's the value category. So yeah,
Okay,
I think
cool.
I think it's about that level. Yeah,
Which is totally awesome. I mean, I loved Cabana Bay.
No, Cabana Bay was great.
Yeah.
So it says today, Universal Orlando Resort reveals a first look at its newest and 8th hotel, Universal Endless Summers Resort Dockside Inn and Suites, grand opening on March 17th of 2020. The first look photos of Dockside Inn and Suites guest areas include its casual dining food court, Pier 8 Market, the hotel lobby, resort-style pool and 2-bedroom suites. The first look gives guests a preview of the inspiration for Dockside Inn and Suites, designed to evoke the feeling of being surrounded by the sea from the shore and catching the sunset from beneath a pier. So let's jump over to those photos. You haven't seen these photos yet. These will
No,
be
I don't
new to
think
you.
so,
This will
yeah.
be. I've seen these. So this is the pool. I love how that just feels so vast.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it kind of goes. This is a picture of the pool. I'm sure Universal has posted these already, but it feels like the water goes all the way up to the building.
Yeah.
That's actually really, really neat. This is the dining area.
Nice.
This feels very.
It's supposed to look like under a pier.
Oh yeah, I guess it's under a pier then.
That's what it's supposed to look like. That's what they said.
I see no barnacles and I see no homeless people.
Oh,
What a lie.
not yet.
This I have no opinion over. It's just very, it is what it
Food
is.
court looking
It's a
area.
food court. Yeah. This is the
Lobby.
lobby.
That's nice.
I kind of like this big circle
It's all
couch
rainbowy
feel.
color. Look at the.
Yeah.
No, it's literally rainbow. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost
the
rainbow,
desks
yeah.
have like multicolored on them. They kind of
It's
span
nice.
over there. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
It's value. You can tell it's value, but I mean, it still has an upper end feel to it at least.
Yeah.
It doesn't just feel like a Hampton Inn or something.
Uh-huh.
This is the room.
Yeah.
I actually like this.
I like it
how the
too.
room layout is, because you have the 2 beds and then a completely separated portion where you have kind of the towels in the sink, and then the bathroom itself is actually
Well,
separated.
no, I think that wasn't that the picture of the 2-bedroom suite? That other one's a room.
This is a 2-bedroom suite?
Yeah, see, there's a bed.
Yeah,
in
it says 2-bed suite.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I said.
Oh.
2-bedroom suite.
Oh, then where's the bathroom?
It's probably around the corner that you can't see.
You have to poop in the sink?
No, it's probably
It's probably
to the
in
right.
it's probably in the corner
Yeah.
here. I like how I jumped immediately to pooping in the sink. That had nothing to do with what
Logical
the female said.
conclusion.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
No, I think that looks really nice.
No, that was awesome. And like people with kids, there can't be enough said to the joy of being in a 2-bedroom hotel suite where you can put your kid to bed in one room and close the door and not have to like whisper. That's how I lost my toenail.
Yes.
Okay. Segue. We stayed at a hotel and we put Erin to sleep in her pack and play.
So we turned off all the lights.
So we turned off all the lights, and then we had a collision in the hallway going to the bathroom, and end of the day, I lost my toenail because I hit Gabe's leg with my toe.
Our toes collided.
Yeah.
I kicked your toenail off, essentially.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So that's what happens when you don't have 2-bedroom suites. So all you people with kids, get the 2-bedroom suites.
I'm actually like
This is a
unintentionally,
public service announcement.
subconsciously, I'm pushing down on my toenail.
You're trying to secure it.
I'm
to your
securing
toe?
it to my toe.
I know. I'm sorry, guys, for the gross segue, but it's public service announcement. Get a 2-bedroom suite.
Brought to you by the people who deserve toenails.
Everybody deserves toenails. By the way, mine has grown back. It's fine. I can now get pedicures again.
Yes, there was a period of time where you could not.
Yeah.
Moving forward,
Sorry.
away from toenails.
You know people tune in for my antics.
Yes, I know they do, Nikki, okay? Don't get a big head. Dockside Inn and Suites is the second hotel in the Universal Orlando's value category and will add 2,050 guest rooms to the destination by the end of 2020, featuring both standard rooms and spacious 2-bedroom suites that sleep up to 6, with rates starting as low as $79 per night based on a 5-night stay during value season. Dockside Inn and Suites compares the quality guests have to come to expect from Universal Orlando Hotel with an extra affordable price point, creating an experience that is unmatched in the Orlando area. Plus, hotel guests receive exclusive theme park benefits, including early park admission, complimentary and convenient air transportation to and from the theme parks, and more, creating a complete and seamless vacation experience. Dockside Inn and Suites will become the 8th hotel in partnership with Lowe's Hotel & Co. With the addition of Dockside Inn and Suites and the 750-room Surfside Inn and Suites, the 2 Universal Endless Summer Resort hotels will add 2,800 rooms to the destination, bringing the total room count at Universal Orlando Resort to 9,000 rooms by the end of 2020. So,
Cool.
I like this. I like the addition. I'm excited about it. I just like having more value resorts, and I honestly think Universal created another one that can compete with hotels that are off of I-4, because there's a lot of hotel chains that are just not on theme park property that are off of the big highway that's there,
Yeah.
trying to compete with the theme park hotels by giving good prices.
Yeah.
You know, the only downside is that when you go to those hotels, you're not getting any of the theme park perks by staying there. You're saving $1, saving quite a bit of money sometimes, but you're not getting theme park perks. So this is Universal trying to be like, hey, we have those prices.
You still get the perk.
You still get the perks. Come here instead. And I mean, like when
I'm all about that. Yeah.
So I booked a hotel. This is no surprise to anybody. I booked a hotel for Orlando for October when I'm coming to Halloween Horror Nights 30. But I'm actually not staying on property because none of the hotels I found were the best price, at least within our price range. So I actually found a hotel that was literally a block away from City Walk for, what was it, like $70 a night?
Yeah.
And I'm staying for 2 nights. That was an incredible price. So clearly they're trying to, like I said, they're trying to compete with that. It just, for me and for us, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and but like whole families going, there's something to be said for like the ease of like the transportation of staying on property, and if they can do that at like a decent price point if they're staying for like a week, and that's $79 a night. That's fantastic.
That's half the issues, is just getting everybody to somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Once you're there, you're fine. It's just getting everybody up and out the door to a bus, and hopefully they're on time.
Yeah.
Unlike Disney buses. But moving on, the last piece of news that we have before jumping into the main topic, a little bit of sad news.
Is it?
It's a little sad.
Yeah,
it's a little sad. The Walking Dead attraction at Universal Studios Hollywood will be closing its doors.
Dun dun dun.
I know there have been a ton of conversations after The Walking Dead opened about Universal Orlando getting its own daytime walkthrough attraction. A lot of the rumors were talking about Stranger Things. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Walking Dead is closing for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm really, really sad to see it go, because it really was that bite-sized portion of Haunt that we had year-round that we could just go experience just to get our, as Parks and Cons say, Haunt fix.
Yeah.
Which now we have to get somewhere else. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer. I really, really enjoyed going through it, although it wasn't the best attraction. It wasn't like the top-notch best thing you could experience walkthrough-wise.
Yeah.
It was good for what it was and what it was trying to do. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really highly detailed. I liked actually all the monster makeup on there. There was some really silly things, but it was just fun to see it.
Definitely. I mean, I will miss it. And, you know, I what I really miss was the one they had before. You know, so this was like a kind of like a consolation. Like, okay, well, you know, the
House of Horrors.
Yeah,
right?
so the House of Horrors is gone. At least we have The Walking Dead, and now The Walking Dead's going to. So I am sad that there won't be anything year round that we can go in, but hopefully they replace it with something super cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it would be really weird because they're opening up Secret Life of Pets, and that whole street now is no longer really Baker Street. It's Pet's Place.
Yeah.
So it's really weird and odd to have this extremely family-friendly area bumped up against a zombie apocalypse attraction. It just doesn't work. It doesn't match.
Yeah.
So I understand thematically why that would be an option. I don't know if it just had low guest attendance, low guest ratings, or what inevitably was the catalyst behind closing the attraction.
Yeah.
But it does make sense now that Pets is going to be
fit.
Opening up. It just doesn't feel right in that area anymore.
Yeah.
If it was on the lower lot, I think like maybe it would have lasted a bit.
Probably.
But yeah, unfortunately, it's going to close. I believe the last operating day is actually this upcoming Wednesday, which is the first Wednesday of March. So
it's the 4th, something like that.
The 4th or the 3rd, something like that. Yeah. So pour a little out next time you have a drink for the Walking Dead walkthrough attraction at Universal Studios Hollywood. That brings us to the end of our theme park bulletin segment, and we're about to get a little spooky. So dim down the lights, turn your earphones up just a little bit.
Wrap up in your ghost blanket.
If you have one. And babushka yourself.
It's the appropriate way to listen to scary stories.
And get ready for some spooky theme park ghost stories with our guest, Rick West. Hello, everybody, and we are sitting here with a wonderful friend of ours by the name of Rick West. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Welcome.
Dude, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been some time. Like, when you were coming up in the elevator, you had said this, and I couldn't pinpoint what episode he was on the last time he was here.
I can tell you, Erin was like a month old.
Yeah,
she was sleeping in the
itty-bitty.
Mama-Roo when he walked in,
You're
remember?
right.
Yeah.
She was in that thing that was like rocking her back and forth, and you wish you had
little,
one of those
the
things.
little baby flying saucer.
Oh, okay, I remember. Yeah. Yeah, but I was thinking about that on the way over here. I was like, dude, it's been like a year. It's been more than a year.
It's been a
probably.
little more than a year.
Yeah. But
Damn.
glad to have you back. And for
obviously you didn't
episode.
need me, so that's just fantastic, Gabe and Nikki.
Hey, that just means the show's doing well. Sorry.
That's great.
I'm not gonna say I was
good.
a little jealous every time I saw another podcast on Twitter being like, with guest Rick
see?
West. Like, I'd be like,
I'm all
"Arr."
about that. I want like the podcast love spats. You know what I mean? I want you all to see each other going, oh, okay, I see how it is. I wonder if they're going to talk about MIDSUMMER.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
right?
know.
See?
So all of a sudden, all the podcasts talk to each other, man. They're going to be like, hey, that Rick West, he's real loose when it comes to going podcast to
I
podcast.
know, podcast whore. That's what I'm going to be. That's great. David Markland and I were actually, we had lunch today, and he said, oh, man, you should not do TPA again, but you should start up your own, like a theme park history podcast. And I said, I've toyed with the idea of doing something like that. But then I looked at him, I said, you know what? That's just too much damn work. I'd rather jump around and be on everybody else's podcast and let them do all the work. And he's like, yeah, that's about right.
And this was my work right here.
Here we go, see?
You can hear it right here. So, as you heard in the intro, we're going to be talking spooky, scary ghost stories from different theme parks. Yeah. Now, so I didn't include any Midwest, like regional parks. That was a little bit hard for me to find, that certain stuff. But there is a plethora of stories from Disneyland, Walt Disney World, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal Studios, plenty of those places, all those places. So I've gathered a collection of those. So, oh, by the way, how's MIDSUMMER Scream going? You're planning 2020, aren't you?
We do. It's an 18-month process. So, yes, we're actually talking about 21 stuff. What? So, I mean, yeah. So, but it's going really well. We are firing on all cylinders, and maybe we'll talk about that at the end of the episode.
Woo!
Stay tuned.
Nice. We're gonna get a little sneak peek, some info there.
Go, maybe I might drop a little knowledge.
Goodness.
I might drop a little knowledge on you.
I like that kind of stuff.
This is the perfect episode to do it.
Knowledge nuggets.
Yeah.
Knowledge nuggets.
Fantastic.
Anyway, so as we said, we're going to be talking some spooky ghost stories. So, Rick, I know that you've been on the episode. Oh, you were on the episode where we talked about Haunted Mansion. For sure, that was it.
Okay.
We talked about your Haunted Mansion Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. Was that
Well,
it?
there you go. That sounds... Let's go with yes, Gabe.
There we go.
We're going to go with yes for
Anyway.
500.
So, because you've worked at Disney, I'm assuming you've heard plenty of ghost stories from your time of working there.
Oh, sure. I mean, there are the general park stories that I'm sure you'll get into. But certainly being a cast member at the Haunted Mansion, which in the late 80s, I was a cast member at the Mansion and at Pirates. And, of course, when you're working the Haunted Mansion, there's going to be ghost stories. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they ghost stories abound. And the thing that was fun for us working the Mansion, I would imagine it was probably a little bit more loose then than it is now. And we used to, we actually had seasons when I worked at Disneyland. And
seasons? What are those?
Every day wasn't 4th of July on a Saturday. That's what it means. So we actually had a lot of, downtime, not downtime, but downtime in the Haunted Mansion where we would literally just spend the evening just goofing off and scaring the shit out of each other when we were working the attraction, especially the newbies. And if the newbies were girls... Oh my God! It was like you just ring the ding, 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 the dinner bell, and we would just go out of our way just to hide and wait forever and spring at people as they went through rotation. We had a lot of fun, but then on top of that, lot of fun, there was also a lot of legit ghost stories that people would tell and hand down from generation of ride operators to the next generation of ride operators, and then some people had their own experiences.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, it makes plenty sense that you'd have ghost stories at a theme park. There's so much energy and people there every single day, people making memories, sometimes people dying, sometimes people being created. You never know.
Yes.
During the downtime.
During that downtime. Yeah.
You're getting down. There's just so much energy, positive, negative, there's so much going on that it's bound to leave an imprint. So to me, it makes perfect sense that some place like a Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm has something going on that we can't truly explain.
Not to mention the illegal ashes scattering.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
Well, there's that. Yeah. There is that. Which I never encountered that.
Oh, really?
People, whether you're listening to different people that have worked there or read books or different accounts, people say, "Oh, it happens all the time." So when I worked there, my position, which doesn't exist anymore, was called safety, and I spent my entire shift walking the attraction behind the doom buggies acting as security because we didn't actually have cameras in the late 80s in the mansion, which was really weird because pirates had them, but we didn't have them in mansion. And so my entire shift entailed walking from the endless hallway all the way up through the attic behind all the cars and be virtually invisible behind because you're out of their view shed. Never once did I ever hear or see that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, to me that seems like one of those kind of like old wives' tales where someone's like, "Oh, it happens all the time," but it's happened like probably once or twice.
Yeah.
And it becomes one of those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
I feel like
totally.
that's also happens with ghost stories. I feel like they kind of become their own living, breathing thing.
Sure.
For all intents and
yeah.
purposes.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So like one person says one story and then it kind of just snowballs.
Power of suggestion.
It's the alligator in the sewers story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a few different things here that I have written up, and they're kind of across the board, different parks. So we thought we'd kind of go through these and just have discussions in between.
Yeah.
So the first one that I have here was from a listener that sent this in, and I'm going to not refer to her by name because she did something she shouldn't have done, and I don't want her to get in trouble. But she said she works at Universal Studios Hollywood in the bakery department. That underneath both Springfield and Harry Potter, there are 2 kitchen prep areas where she used to work. Her and her co-workers, one night, which she worked nights, decided they wanted to go take a look at Potter before it opened. So it was still kind of in the phase of in construction, still almost there. She said that 2 of them stopped to look at a shop, and they immediately felt just a cold gust in their area, and they started to hear whispers. So they ran to catch up with the other 2, and they literally just booked it out of there and never went back.
Wow.
So, the first thing that comes to my mind is Potter has a ton of sound design. And by the way, I want to preface every one of these stories with, I'm just going to act as though this stuff happened. Because there's an easy way to explain a lot of stuff away. I just kind of want to live in these.
Of course.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of course.
So, Potter has a lot of sound design. I don't know at what point Potter was in their construction and if that sound design was going or not. Because there are some weird sounds that are thrown into the audio loops that you hear when you're in the land itself. But if it was dead quiet and nobody's there, what's whispering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they could also have the untempered HVAC also, which if you've ever been in line like at Splash Mountain or whatever, and you get those huge cold spots while you're waiting, in queue for that. So, but we're supposed to pretend that it actually happened. But it's really interesting though that would be a ghost story, because typically, like you said, if you believe in that kind of thing, the general consensus is that spirits or supernatural activity are drawn to high energy, right? Like where people have imprinted feelings and emotions and memories and that type of thing. But something that's brand new like Potter, that hasn't even been around long enough, right?
What was there before?
That is true.
Auditorium.
That is true.
The amphitheater.
The amphitheater.
The amphitheater was there plenty of energy
the Fred
there.
Flintstone, the bedrock, the barbecue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right.
All
So there
those
was a lot of
chickens.
stuff there, and even before,
Oh, it's the Nikki, it's the chicken ghost.
It's the chicken ghost.
It's the
yeah.
chicken.
Yeah.
Oh,
She didn't hear
yeah.
whispers.
whispering clucks.
It's the ghost and Mr. Chicken.
Yeah.
That's what it is right there.
And
Yes.
even before the park was built, it was whatever was there.
Yeah.
So there's still energy imprinted there, regardless of.
So the
what
ghost
was there.
materialized to the girl and gave no clucks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it actually gave some clucks because she heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
She never went back.
That's right.
So, another one of our listeners told us, or at least sent us an email and said that she works at Disney's Animal Kingdom as custodial. And she would always close up Maharaja Jungle Trail and Gorilla Falls early because it was said to be haunted. So already there is some weird stories going around this area. She says, one day me and my friends went down the trail right at closing, close to Halloween, which to me is you're already kind of in the mindset of spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And it constantly felt like we were being followed around, and have never really been down there again. It was an extremely humid night, and we were she misspelled something. We were in the enclosed area and got chills and immediately wanted to leave. She said she had fight or flight, and it was immediate flight. She wanted to leave. Some people said that they've seen a shadowy figure standing inside the building in front of the door, and then they've also heard children crying when the park was closed.
Well, she's obviously being stalked by Joe Rody. Joe's all camouflaged out, creeping through the bushes.
Did that shadowy figure have a giant earring?
See? And she heard the jangling of keys. No, it was Joe's earring.
That makes a lot of sense.
See? Joe's there checking out what he's going to do for maybe something in the future at Animal Kingdom. And so he's lurking in the bushes. He's all camouflaged out at dusk.
But to me, like, if I was working custodial at night and I hear kids crying and then I see a shadowy figure, I would be out of there so fast. So fast. I would not be lingering around at all.
Yeah, no.
You got creeped out by a door opening up in our bedroom, so like we would never be there.
That's creepy. No, but I'm having a hard time not being in the debunk mindset.
It's easy to try to debunk things.
Yeah.
Like if you're in there with other custodial and people cleaning up, who's to say that shadowy figure isn't actually somebody else?
Yeah.
Especially if all the lights are
or
off.
supervisors watching. You know what? I had horrible supervisors when I worked at Disneyland.
Would they just mess with you?
They were actually like horrible human beings.
Oh, they're just bad people.
We're not going to name names. Some of them are still around. They were not great at that time. And one of their favorite things they used to, like, because I worked canoes, that's like the ninth circle of hell for someone like me. But I worked canoes, and anybody on canoes knew they would go out on the old burro trails along the backside of Rivers of America before it was altered, obviously now. But they would hide along the berm up there in the bushes and watch to make sure that the canoe people were doing their jobs. And if they deemed them, to be jerking around or, not taking their, they'd like be waiting for them on the dock or whatever, or there'd be a message on the dock to go up to the area office when you got back. And so, been spying on you. We saw that you weren't you weren't sitting down properly. So there are supervisors that lurk in bushes.
Yeah, and there are plenty of bushes at Animal Kingdom.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
But we're not debunking.
We're not debunking.
You guys are the worst.
I'm sorry.
Both
I'm
of you
terrible at
suck.
this. I watched Ghost Hunters too many times.
See, there we go.
Well, we watched Ghost Hunters. We've been to the Queen Mary and done all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like we want to believe in it, but then we're like, we're just crazy. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, moving forward from you two trying to debunk all this fun stories, trying to be all spooky here. So this one is kind of just a roundup of Knott's Berry Farm kind of spooky ghost stories. At Knott's Berry Farm, many places are rumored to be haunted. At Camp Snoopy, Peanuts Playhouse is rumored to be haunted. So I'm assuming the Peanuts Playhouse is like that stage that's right there next to the Snoopy Red Baron.
Well, the Peanuts Playhouse used to be, it was, they became like a fun house type thing, right?
Yes.
So maybe they were referring to that?
Probably referring to that.
Because that structure was there forever. And they used it for Scary Farm, for different mazes.
You're right. Yeah, that's what they're referring to.
I think Peanuts Playhouse was that.
Yeah. So they're saying it was rumored to be haunted. Employees have reported chills, voices, lights that are going on and off when the power is off. And someone following them. So I'm assuming like footsteps and just an overall presence. Also, the Kingdom of the Dinosaurs ride is believed to be haunted by the maintenance worker who died here in a fire years ago, and the apparition of a young boy that has been seen there as well. So I never heard of a fire in that building.
There was a fire, but I don't think it was. Nobody died, I don't believe. So
see,
that's an embellishment.
Yeah,
there was a fire up there.
Yeah.
There was a fire in the building. Pretty sure. Now I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah, no.
But I'm pretty sure. But obviously it wasn't bad because the building's still there and the arcade is still intact below.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad. But I don't know that anybody died in the KOD building.
People are probably associating, like, I'm not saying that these instances don't happen, but maybe they're just like, oh, well, there was a fire, so maybe it was because of that, and then all of a sudden that becomes, quote, fact.
Well, you know where that also kind of blurs reality is way back in the day. An early saga of Scary Farm, that attraction was called The Dark and then Slasher of the Dark, and it was about an old amusement ride where a maintenance worker walked around killing people in there.
Oh my goodness, are you joking me? I didn't know about that.
So I think that's probably where that blurs also.
Probably. That makes a lot of sense.
That's funny.
See, look, that's a fun debunk. I like that. I think it's only because it's...
See what happens when... Imagine all the other nuggets of knowledge I could have dropped in the past year that you didn't invite me here, Gabe.
Well, you were busy dropping other
Oh
nuggets.
my God. Okay.
Moving on. There was once a parachute ride that is no longer in operation and is said to be haunted by a man who jumped to his death
Yes.
from it in the 1980s. So that is actually true.
That, I believe, happened on Halloween night during Not Scary Farm.
Yikes.
Are you joking me?
Nope. And the story goes, he rode up with a friend, and as they were locked into the cage, which you're too young to have gone on that ride.
I didn't get to go
That
on
scared
parachute
the
jump.
living shit out of me, that thing. When I was a kid, oh my God, I was terrified because they would take you up, and of course you're small, so everything is so much bigger,
Yeah.
right? It still, as an adult, would be like, ugh, no thanks, especially in the cages.
Yeah.
Today, I don't even know if that would even be passable for an attraction vehicle. It was just this cage with two little swinging doors, and they just locked them on you, and that was it. And up you went, and you'd hang up there, the wind would be blowing, and you could feel everything moving, and then they'd drop you, and it wasn't that bad, but just the anticipation of being dropped.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get down to the bottom, and then they send you right back up again for a second drop. You're like, no! As you're going up. I hated that when I was a little kid, but I went on it because... Yeah, but the story is it was either Halloween or it was during Halloween haunt. A guy rode up with his friend. As they started going up, he handed all the personal effects to the friend, and he says, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I don't need these anymore." And they got to the top, and like I said, there's a moment before it drops where it pauses. He apparently jumped up on top, holding the cables, facing his friend with his back facing outward, and he looked at the friend and said, "Bye," and he let go and fell backwards.
Oy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's the way I've always heard that story.
Yeah.
But that did happen. It did happen at the parachute drop.
So apparently there's some supernatural occurrences happening in the place where the parachute drop was. So
Where
over there
was
on
that?
Boardwalk.
It was on Boardwalk?
It's where the Sky Tower is.
Yeah, it's the Sky Tower.
The Sky Tower with giant K.
It was just kind of attached to the side of it.
Okay. Yeah, it was somewhere in my head.
Yeah, we're just so used to seeing Sky Tower just as it is now, but there's so many images of it with the actual parachute drop attached to it.
Yeah.
Like it's in Virginia's. So, they had the historical poster on the wall with the timeline. You
Yeah,
can see
I've
it there
definitely
too.
seen that, yeah.
Which, speaking of Virginia's has their own kind of stories to be told. So, on the second floor in the employee break room, witnesses have heard unexplained noises, felt cold breezes, and doors have said to be opening and closing on their own. And then on top of that, Jeff Tucker from 91 Reasons had told me that there is a mirror in Virginia's that shows an apparition of a woman in it sometimes, which is very spooky. Which, by the way, I have to say, out of all the places that we're going to be talking about today, I 100% unequivocally believe that Knott's Berry Farm is haunted.
Yeah.
I have no doubts in my mind that place is haunted to no extent, because they literally upheaved buildings from another place, and who knows what kind of energy came with those.
Yeah.
That to me
They
is like
brought
a
'em.
completely different thing.
Yeah, if any place I could see Knott's being haunted.
Which I've heard plenty of stories from Knott's and people telling me that they've experienced like weird occurrences. Never really like, I see a ghost and it's over there staring at me. That is Walter Knott. It's not like that kind of a
Yeah.
story. It's always an instance of like someone tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around and no one was there.
Yeah.
Or I felt like I was being followed, but I knew I was the only one.
Yeah.
Or hearing footsteps, which is a very popular occurrence, which that could easily be explained away. But lots of weird things happening that I've heard plenty of times there. And there's a lot of forums that you can actually find those stories at too. So.
Yeah, sure. Well, and the park is just so old,
Yeah.
All of the people that have passed through Knott's, I mean, the history at Knott's dwarfs Disneyland's.
Yep.
Knott's is now celebrating its 100th anniversary.
It's so funny because
So-
when I talk to people about theme parks, when they find out I'm really into it and I start talking to them and I tell them that, Walt Disney went to Knott's Berry Farm, they're like, whoa, what? And I was like, you didn't know that? Like, he actually went over there. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
They're hard to find, but there are pictures
Yeah.
of the two Walts at Knott's, and actually you can see Walt's team there measuring, talking, and they were there to measure sidewalks and to watch crowd flow and really kind of get an idea of what they were getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like people kind of forget that part of history. I think people only really focus on the idea of like, oh, Disney versus Knott's versus Universal and creating kind of that story. But back in the day, there really wasn't.
Which is really funny because you have a whole East Coast going, excuse me, Coney Island, hello.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You know, so the East Coast stuff and also the parks like Cedar Point and all that of the Midwest, they blow our parks out of the water as far as, you know, longevity and history. And
There's a lot of history there.
yeah, the industry did not start in Orange County.
No, not
Sorry.
at all.
Sorry, folks.
It just overshadows it, unfortunately.
Orange County here and Orange County in Florida
Yeah.
are
Not
pretty
just-
pretty popular.
Not just overshadows,
Hotspots.
completely dominates.
There you go.
the
I would say
history.
that's accurate, yes.
So, another story from Knott's Berry Farm somebody sent in. I currently work here. I work in a store in Fiesta Village and had an upstairs stock room. It was late and I was the only person in the store. I heard a thump upstairs that was continued to be footsteps walking around. Every time I moved somewhere downstairs, the footsteps would follow upstairs. A coworker of mine was closing a different night and heard a little kid laugh underneath one of the registers after another late night. She too was alone in the store.
Wow.
I swear to God, if I heard a kid laugh, I would literally crap my pants.
Yeah.
If I'm in a theme park where no one is, I'm closed, the park's closed.
You're closed?
I'm closed. Closed off to the world.
Yep.
If the store is closed, only us around,
Yep.
why the hell is there a kid laughing?
Yep. Some creepy ass little kid laughter.
No,
yeah,
no.
right. Yeah.
Something about kids freaks me out when it comes to like spooky ghost stories. That is the crap that freaks me out. Like I'm not scared to go on the Queen Mary. I'm not scared to see an apparition on the Queen Mary. If Jackie came up to me, I would be running the opposite direction. I would not about that. Something about kids messes with me.
Yeah, it's extra creepy.
Come play with us.
You don't sound like a kid.
Yes, I do.
Right.
That sounded extra creepy because it was Gabe doing that.
Yeah.
And the way he looked at me, right, and deep into my eyes when he
yeah.
said that, come play with me. Yeah.
Ooh.
God damn it. I'm never going to get to sleep tonight. That just take
I'm just gonna
like
text
3
you.
showers and,
I'm gonna
know.
text you.
Oh,
Send
God.
voice messages.
Voice memos.
Yeah,
Voice
yeah.
memos.
Come
What are those
play with
the
me.
animojis? I'm gonna send you the dragon
Oh, my God. Come play with me.
or the bear.
Come play with me, Ricky.
There.
Ricky, come play with me.
Moving on, let's talk a little bit more about Disneyland. So one of the big stories that I kind of goes around the different forums and online, and people talk about this. And there's supposedly a video online that shows this, which I actually think is 100% fake.
Yeah.
But something called Mr. One Way. Have you heard of this?
No, I don't think so. Keep going.
So, Mr. One Way haunts Space Mountain. He's most often described as a friendly ghost who appears in the line as a living person chatting and enjoying the day. Sometimes he is described as a grown man with reddish hair, sometimes as a child. The child interacts with other guests, but it soon becomes obvious he is not from our time. The spirit will board the ride next to a single rider, but disappear by the end of the ride. Another ghost haunts Space Mountain with less frequency. This ghost is called Disco Debbie. Allegedly the ghost of a former cast member who died while working on Space Mountain. She is characterized by a phosphorescent green glow. So I've heard of Mr. One Way before.
Well, that's super. Like that was the first one that like gave me the chills. Just like
The
him-
idea that he's in line
him-
mingling with people,
yeah,
and all of a sudden he's just gone.
Like imagine if you were just sitting there with Mr. Single Rider next to you, and then all of a sudden at the end of the ride they just weren't there. Like how creepy is
Yeah.
that?
I would have thought he got launched out of that thing.
I would too. But
It's been so long now. You got to remember, it's been 30 years, whatever, since I worked at Disneyland. But in saying that, I seem to recall there being a story like that around Space Mountain. That there would be a rider that would be at the beginning of the ride and then not at the end of the ride. But all the stuff about mingling with people and the queue and all that stuff.
That might be one of those things.
It's
that's
one of those things that's
added
been
over
embellished,
time.
right? Embellished
Yeah.
over the years,
But
right?
I don't deny that something like that could happen where it feels like you see someone sitting next to you. When you get off, he's not there.
Yeah, but I seem to remember, now that you say that, it jars a memory of, I think that was one of the stories that would be perpetuated by Space Mountain cast members.
yeah.
Yeah. Not a ghost story at all, but something I just remembered. I don't think we've talked about it on the show for quite a long time. But I don't remember if you remember this at all, but we were... I think we were we were going up the escalator at Universal Studios Hollywood, and we were just overhearing somebody's conversation. And this just kind of reminded me of this a little bit. It has nothing to do with ghosts at all. It actually has to do with a lot of people who were pretty sure were on drugs. but they were talking about their experience on Pirates, and they were going up the escalator, we were listening to their story. And this guy is talking about being on Pirates with his friends. And at the time, this is before they switched it, and the dark tunnel was still there.
The trans tunnel.
So before you get into the...
Properly warned, DB, says I.
that whole tunnel. That whole thing.
Right.
We know you can do it. We know you can do the whole thing.
He's seen the cursed treasure. He knows where it be hidden.
Okay, there we go. We're going to go into the whole thing.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of the ride. But he was talking about going through that and how it was pitch black. Yeah. He said that him and his friend were riding, and that all of a sudden there was a bright, blinding light that came out from one of the walls, and someone grabbed his friend and pulled him out of the boat, and all his friends said, "There'll be white people in here," and then that was it. And then he didn't see his friend till after the ride was over.
Because they were smoking.
I'm assuming so.
No, that was part of the story. They were like smoking a joint in the boat,
and he got yanked out.
He got pulled out.
I can tell you that there's a door right there.
Oh, yeah. So the story. This entire time I thought this guy was full of crap.
No, there's an access door there. And then if we had trouble in the trans tunnel, or you would go down and you'd enter in the trans tunnel, because you obviously can't. There are no walkways through the treasure scene and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the closest way to get down there is you go to the trans tunnel, and then there was a pathway that would walk all along behind the black, the Wicked Winch, and around the sea battle scene, and then you'd end up kind of in boat storage back there, and that's the way we would go down to change the boats at night or whatever. But you bet, if there was security that was going after them, there's a camera in that tunnel, and you bet they could have come out with a flashlight and they would have come right out that door right there.
Oh damn, that guy wasn't lying then.
See,
this entire time I thought that guy was totally lying and just making up a funny story, but no. There'd be white people in there.
Yep. Ever since at least the 80s, I can attest, there'd be white people in there. Yes, there are.
So yeah, there you go. That's
See, here we are. We're just debunking and talking, and
there you go. But that wasn't a ghost story, though.
It wasn't.
That wasn't a ghost story.
No,
that was just a weird story from some drug-induced dude
there you
on
go.
the escalator at Halloween.
Having
Horror
a really
Nights.
bad time with security. In Pirates. Yep.
The next ghost story from Disneyland that I have here is a ghostly apparition wearing Victorian clothes that is said to wander Main Street, helping lost children find their way to the baby care center. This is said to be the spirit of a woman who died on the site in the 1900s before the park was built, but is still connected to the land. Some have theorized this is when it starts getting to the area where people start to make crap up. Theorize that the old-timey feel of Main Street may have been why she remained. That part seems weird.
There could be an apparition that people see. I don't think that she is leading children towards the care center, because if she died before Disney was there, how would she know where the care center is?
Be true. For 1955, it was nothing but orange groves.
Yeah. That too.
So it's not like there was a Main Street USA there.
Yeah.
There was no Old Town Orange with people walking through. I
do want to say though that and we've talked about this on the show because we went and saw the Aidan Sinclair show, and he made a very good point. And him saying there really is no explanation for, if you believe in this stuff, there really is no explanation why a ghost would end up in a particular place. Because, Jackie, for all intents and purposes, the spirit of the little girl who's on the ship, there's no reported event of any child dying on the ship, like the story that supposedly surrounds her. So why is she here? Was it because she made a memory and that was the happiest memory she's ever had, and so she decides to be here for the rest of her life? So, taking that same kind of reasoning, although it were just orange fields, maybe somebody had a very happy memory and decided that that's where they wanted to live, and that memory for the rest of existence, or whatever we kind of want to explain that to be. Who knows?
Yeah. There's a lot of different theories. It could just be an echo.
Yeah,
even.
Yeah, if anything, maybe it is just an echo. It's not this some intelligent ghost. It's not some freaking poltergeist.
Yeah,
like stacking chairs. It's just an echo,
like a
tape,
recording. Yeah.
Over and over and over of somebody having done one action, and you just see that happening. And we're just lucky that it happens to be on Main Street, by happenstance. So, another story here, and these two things are connected. So this is kind of the background to this main ghost story. So in 1984, and this is a true story, a woman named Dolly Young was vacationing at Disneyland. It was unknown what caused her accident, though it seems most likely that she unbuckled her seatbelt in the Matterhorn. While riding it, she was thrown from her bobsled onto the track, and another bobsled rode over her, causing the entire ride to shut down. When cast members investigated, they reported seeing no blood, only her feet and legs sticking out from underneath the bobsled, like somebody who wrote this, like the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. Ever since then, the section of the track is called Dolly's Dip by cast members who sometimes report hearing her voice, feeling cold spots, or the feeling of being watched while working on the track after closing.
Now, see, I'm going to take that a little bit further because at least back in the 80s when I worked there, that story went, we're talking about where A and B side cross over each other, right?
Yeah.
It literally dips underneath.
Yes, and if you are on A side, it drops very sharply down. We were always told that the person was ejected from the vehicle and struck her head on that overpass there. And some people say she even was decapitated or whatever, but it caused major trauma, obviously, to her head. Either way, that's why it was called Dolly's Drop. Dolly's Drop, Dolly's Dip. Yep, it was called both.
Why there's no blood. Because if she was under the bobsled, there'd be blood. But it's a game of telephone.
Sure, of course it is.
It changes and evolves over time.
To me, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because
she hit her head
in order for
really
her
hard on that over. Yeah,
that means she would have to be on A, then fall down to B. But it doesn't feel like that would logistically happen. I feel like if she had to be on B and hit her head on the track that's going over.
No,
top.
she was on A. So A is Autopia side, B is bathroom side.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
So yeah. So she was in A. She didn't have her seatbelt on. She came out and she hit her head on that because who knows what she was doing.
Yeah.
But then that's what knocked her out of the vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you hear other things like, and then the next bobsled hit her, that kind of thing. And that's what stopped the attraction. Yeah.
So there's that story, and this is from my friend Nico from Entertainment Connection, who works at Disney. And this is a story that he's recounted for us. So, when you first get trained on the Matterhorn, or usually any attraction that is deemed haunted, you're always told about the stories of the ghosts that reside in that attraction. So Matterhorn has a ghost that goes by the name of Dolly. She was killed when her seatbelt, blah, 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 died, head struck, the whole thing. It's called Dolly's Dip. I'm a you gotta see it to believe it kind of guy. I think ghosts are real, but need to see something or feel it to actually stand by my belief. Anyway, when he was training, we were going over our operations guidelines. I informed my trainer that I have to go to the bathroom. The restroom inside the Matterhorn is in the caged off area next to let's see, what did he say? Next to the lowest part of the track by Dolly's Dip. I do my business and wash my hands. There's no one in the mountain besides myself, my training partner, and the trainer. And once I exit the restroom, I smell the strongest scent of this old woman's perfume I've ever smelt in my life. It punched me in the face, and it was that strong. So I thought, my trainer did this as a joke. Ha ha ha. But then when I opened the other door to get back to break and maintenance area, I felt someone scratch my arm. Not a painful scratch, just the kind where someone does it to you to give you a tickle or relieve an itch. And it seriously felt like nails on my arm. It freaked me out, but fascinated all at the same time. That's when I knew that Dolly's ghost is truly at home inside the Matterhorn. I let my trainer know what happened, and she looked at me like, obviously I wasn't lying, and that she was offended that I didn't believe her. So from the day on, from that day on, or whenever I'd have to walk the track near the dip or go to the bathroom, I would get the feeling like someone was watching me, and I knew Dolly was there.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. The perfume thing is the thing that gets me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would think that there's plenty of things that could probably touch you and poke and prod you. You accidentally scrape yourself on. You're already in a weird state of mind.
The Yeti could be messing with
you. The
you.
Yeti could just be grabbing out, give you a big Yeti hug. The perfume thing is the thing that catches me off guard and makes me question. Like, the one thing I can't explain. Like, why do you get, like, this huge scent of perfume that, like, it's not like it could have wafted up from somewhere and stay intact in, like, this little cloud. It would disperse.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be as strong. Not like it was sprayed inside the mountain. I mean, let alone he was inside the mountain, too.
Yeah.
So
Maybe he was making his own Dolly's drop inside the bathroom, and another cast member came by and went,
some
You need some
poopery.
poopery.
yeah, see?
Dolly thought
Maybe a female cast member was like, oh,
See, this is the story that gives me chills.
Yeah, no, that made me all
It doesn't have to be an apparition. It's just something weird.
Yeah.
That to me is weird. Scents are weird. There have been times that I've walked into buildings, like old buildings in LA, and there's like a musty smell to them. They usually have a particular smell, and that usually doesn't change. And then you get like this big waft of something else. There have been times where I've smelled cologne, like this pungent smell of cologne, like someone sprayed it in my face. And then by the time I realize what the smell is, it's gone. And that's hard to explain. That's very hard to explain. So, moving on. We're going to be talking a little bit about Universal Orlando. So, it says, a workman died when they were building Confrontation. He fell from the scaffolding, and his ghost haunted the attraction, and team members would say that they saw an extra passenger all the time on the trams when they would dispatch. And when they would look to go double take, he'd be gone. So, it sounds like a Mr. One-Way situation again.
sure.
Where, if I was going to be a ghost, I would totally haunt a theme park.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be living at Disneyland my whole rest of
There you go.
existence.
Your whole afterlife.
Yeah.
That would totally F with people.
Of course.
All the time.
Well, yeah.
I would be in the bathroom stalls, like, moaning Myrtle.
Oh, yeah. Saying, Ricky, come play with me. Come play with me, Ricky.
Trust me, if I was dead and I was in the bathrooms haunting it, I would definitely do that.
That's
only
fantastic.
when you were there.
Yeah,
And then
it's
people would be like, there's this ghost that calls out for some guy named Ricky that was probably his brother, and his brother murdered him.
Yeah, see, it's embellished.
Murdered him and stabbed him. And now his ghost haunts the bathroom because
he flushed his
was a
remains.
Because he was a
flushed his
plumber.
remains.
He flushed his remains
down the
this
toilet. And he had plumber tools to get rid of the... Yeah. Talk about a snake.
I'm not bringing any of your remains to the theme park. No way, Jose.
Why not?
Because.
I've always said I wanted to be cremated. So you better drop me off there.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm keeping you intact somewhere that we haven't decided yet.
Literally just put, like, you know those was it the one price shipping boxes from FedEx? Like the one price, just dump it in there, seal it, and send it to Knott's Berry Farm.
Wow.
Paid right, return to sender. We don't want Gabe.
Return to sender. We don't want him. His podcast was
right.
horrible.
We heard his podcast like 60 years ago. We don't want him here.
We knew his plan. His dirty plan.
We've been waiting for this package.
And this one is about Universal Studios Hollywood. This is less of a theme park area, and this is more the backlot, which, if nobody has been to Universal Studios Hollywood or doesn't really understand the history, the studio lot has been there for so many years, predating the theme park by plenty. I think it's been there for 100.
It's been there for a long time.
Something
They used to
close
shoot
to that.
silent movies there.
Yeah,
And they would let
shot
people
a
come
lot
and
there.
watch silent movies being shot because couldn't hear the audience.
Sound didn't matter.
So they started charging a dime or whatever it was for people to come up and sit in the bleachers and watch it being shot.
Yeah. So there's so much history that predates the theme park there, so that makes a lot of sense. Then the areas that are considered haunted are the places that aren't in the theme park itself.
Sure.
Even though, like, the theme park kind of slowly is cannibalizing
Encroaching,
yeah.
cannibalizing that portion of the backlot. But it says a ghostly tale comes from Universal Studios Hollywood studio with the ghost of Lon Chaney. Chaney was the star of many Universal original monster movies, the movies that literally made this studio. Stage 28, which was built for his most famous movie, The Phantom of the Opera, featured a full-size remake of the Parisian theater from the picture. Years since, the set had remained for decades, with Universal staffers all saying that the black cloaked stranger had been witnessed hiding within the balconies of the theater. The reports happened so often that security guards even stopped searching the soundstage when reports came in. There was even a TV movie made about the Phantom on Stage 28. But don't worry, scaredy cats out there, the soundstage was sadly demolished in 2016. That would freak me out as a security guard. Be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to go in there.
Right.
I'm good. Bob, you go do that. Bob, you go in there. You cover all of it. I'm good. I would never go into a soundstage at night, especially if it was a set for freaking the Phantom of the Opera.
You'd be a terrible security guard then.
Well, yeah, we'd get fired the first night. Wouldn't want to go into the Phantom of the Opera set. Hey, Gabe, go check it out. There's somebody in there. No, I'm good. I'm going to go home. I don't need to be here anymore. So, those are some of the ghost stories that I found online that kind of revolve around the different theme parks here in Southern California, and a couple over, or at least one over on the East Coast. So, there's so many. There's a plethora of stories that kind of cover different kinds of experiences at all these parks. And I'm interested to hear yours. I know you have one particular instance that you wanted to share with us that happened to you while working at Disney.
I do. So we should preface it by saying, if you haven't heard me on a podcast before talking about this type of thing, I grew up as the kid that was, I just don't get scared. And so even as a little boy, I just was not scared of anything. I go outside, middle of the night, it's dark out, the wind's blowing, but not scary to me. In high school, we'd jerk around in cemeteries and stuff like that, and they were dilapidated old cemeteries in the Imperial Valley, and doesn't scare me at all. That just does not bother me whatsoever. So the whole idea about ghosts, I've always been of the mind where, sure, I mean, you want to believe in an afterlife, because the idea of whenever we cash in our chips, that's it, and it's just black forever like The Sopranos, that's a really brutal reality to like wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's a little, I mean, the brain can't even perceive it.
Right.
It's so final that your brain can't even perceive it. All it thinks is black.
Yeah. Well, and it makes us sad too, as the living, thinking like, oh my God, I really am never going to see my grandparents again or my loved ones again, type of thing.
That was my biggest anxiety as a child.
Overwhelming sense of death.
Yeah. No, just the what if of what if there was nothing.
That's
it used to
terrifying.
keep me awake at night. Like I was like 7. It's just like lying there in bed like, oh my God.
Why were you a 7-year-old thinking about that?
I don't know.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah.
I would say that the older you get, you kind of start thinking about that stuff.
No, I started
right?
And now I don't care. No.
She got it all.
I got it all out of my system, and I'm like, whatever. Live in the moment.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's just, I've always been open to that kind of thing. I would say I certainly believe there, I am of the mind that, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And there are so many millions of people for decades, centuries that have said, that they've seen apparitions or heard things, or, it's one of those things where it's like enough people have said it, and there's got to be something there.
Yeah.
There's got to be something there.
It's just something that,
to what the extent, I don't know.
Yeah, we no one's gonna know unless there's a definitive answer.
Of course.
I mean, even something science hasn't even been able to prove yet.
Of
but
course.
Who knows what it is? And maybe it's not even dead people.
Yeah.
It could be something that we just don't understand quite
It could be
yet.
alien beings on an alternate parallel universe.
It could be. It's Cybermen
It's
from
Cybermen.
Doctor Who.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. It's Cybermen. There you go. Final answer.
Done. That's it. So when I worked at the Haunted Mansion, like I used to say, we would just scare the hell out of each other. That was like our favorite pastime. Getting a night shift at the mansion during a slow season was just cherry, because you knew that the whole night, depending on who your lead was going to be freaking awesome. Because especially if you like scaring people, which I love scaring people, so you just knew it was just going to be like playtime all night. And one thing, though, that we did do, and I spent a lot of time, like I said, my position was called safety, and I would spend my entire shift inside the guts of the attraction, walking around behind the doom buggies. And when it was slow, I explored every inch of the mansion. What are they going to do, write me up now 30 years later? But I mean, because you're not supposed to deviate from that. But please, I explored every inch of the mansion,
there were no
all the
cameras
backstage.
to catch you.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely none.
And so I knew all the ins and outs of the attraction. It's been 30 years. I probably still know the attraction better than some of the cast members working there now, just because they're not allowed to do that type of thing now. I'm sure there are cast members that have never been on all the different catwalks and walkways and behind, under the cars, under the tracks, and weird dusty crawl spaces that, you'd only find if you were like exploring, but none of that ever scared me. And there were sounds, weird sounds, like the attractions make. Attractions are loud, and attractions, when they're working, they make weird noises. They, there's pistons going, there's air release, there's squeaking, there's all sorts of things, that could really spook somebody in the dark, because it's dark when the show lights and the work lights are off in the mansion. I mean, it's dark in there. We'd have to maneuver everything with we all had mini mag lights that we would use. That was standard part of our costume. And so one of the spots that I would stand in very often, and it's still there, you can see it, when you go up into the hallway at the beginning, when it gets very dark, and the ghost says, "Shh, listen." Right as you're about to turn and look down the endless hallway, right behind you, there is actually a doorway. You can see the door jamb there, and there's a big, heavy Duvetine-like curtain there. Just beyond that doorway, not even maybe a foot into that, there's just a ladder that goes straight up and that takes you to a catwalk that walks out over the conservatory, which is where the coffin is, where the guy's all, let me out of here, let me out of here. That's how you access like the above the show lighting and all that stuff up that area. And it just so worked out that, when I was in the mansion, I wore the heavy cloak that you wear, during the winter there. And you just kind of like melt into that curtain that's hanging there, and you're perfectly situated in that door frame, and you can hear when people are in the load area that are going to be rowdy. And so that's what you listen for, is safety. And you know, okay, this group that's coming up, they're going to be a problem. You could just hear them a mile away. And so I would very often stand there. And one night, very late at night, I was there, and again, listening to groups coming by, and sometimes you just stand there, you let them go by because they're being very quiet or whatever. You're just waiting for the troublemaker to come, is what you're waiting for. And between groups, you just stand there and just kind of like veg out, right? Any ride operator will tell you it doesn't matter what you're working, it just all becomes white noise. To the point where you can fall asleep working an attraction if there's nobody there. Yeah. Even though it's really loud, it's white noise after a while. So I'm standing there, and there's no group coming by, and I feel a very slow, very deliberate hand put itself down on my right shoulder, and it's a very heavy hand, and it pushes down a little bit from behind me.
Did you get chills?
Yeah,
and I jumped, and instantly the hackles go up, and your skin just completely crawls. It's like you've been electrocuted. That kind of like, and I spun around, flashlight on, and of course there's nothing there except me in this cubby hole and this ladder right there.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the ladder. There's nowhere to go right there. And that was the first time in my entire life that I had ever really felt, not even heard or seen, I felt something. And it was heavy, and it rested right on my shoulder like a hand, and you could just feel it pressed down. And of course you immediately like, oh man, okay, who's on tonight, who's dicking with me, type of thing. But there's just no way.
Yeah.
Because there was, again,
you would have heard somebody come down the ladder.
There's no space. There was no space there.
To be there.
And I spun right around, and there's no one there. And nobody would have accessed that up there to come down.
Yeah.
And I had been standing there, like I said, for a while. So I know nobody went in there and was like just waiting. So, and I was the only one with clearance to do that. You have to have special clearance to be safety. So That's my ghost story, and it's a gooder. It's a good one.
Pretty dang good.
Because you actually you don't hear it, you don't see it, but you feel an entity. That was pretty gnarly, and that has stayed with me. It didn't like freak me out to where I'm never doing safety again. But I mean, here we are. I mean, like 30-something years later, and I can still feel it.
Yeah.
So you feel the weight
sure, I can feel exactly
like.
what it was. Yeah, it was one of those things where it was a sensation, and then in your mind instantly, before you start thinking about it, your mind is already reeling. Like, what is that feeling?
Yeah.
It's kind of like an earthquake, right?
Yeah.
When everything starts shaking, and by the time your mind goes, "Oh, earthquake," it's already like shaking, right?
Yeah.
So I felt that, and my mind is like reeling, like, whoa, what? That's a hand, and then it was gone.
Have you talked to anybody who's had similar experiences like that?
No, and I don't openly share that. This is like the first time I've ever talked about that on a podcast, and I don't think, because I often wrote about ghost stories and things like that on TPA over the years. I don't even know that I ever even wrote that, just because it was such a personal experience. Now, I've talked about it probably with friends in small groups. You know, you're out drinking and you talk about things like that. But no, this is by far, this is the first time I've talked publicly, about that type of thing. And I think that if I had told my crew at the time, they probably would have just laughed at me like, yeah, dude, you're blowing so much smoke right now.
Especially because you're in the Haunted Mansion.
Well, and we were all tricksters. We were all into scaring each other. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. There's so many variables within there that could possibly explain it away.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, the one thing that you said that makes it very much nearly impossible to explain is how small the space was behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And where
tiny.
you were getting touched.
Tiny.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah.
Somebody would have had to have been at least my height, probably taller, and to get the leverage to push down like they did on my shoulder. And there's nobody there.
Did it say, "Come play with us, Ricky"?
Ricky, yeah. But from up top, from the voice just came wafting over from the top of the ladder in the darkness up there. Yeah, that's where it came. And then just really quick, I saw a pair of eyes blink. And that was it.
Oh, dude,
but
I would crap myself.
Yeah, but so that was it. And there was a lot of like we would talk about. Again, a lot of the common thread tonight has been kids, right? Kids' laughter.
Yeah.
That was one of the big ones. Was in the Haunted Mansion. If you were working the load one or load two. So load one is where they say get into the vehicle. Load two is where they make sure at the end of the belt that your clamshell is closed, right? So if you're working load one or load two, or God forbid, late at night, they do what's called walking them down, where the person that is at load two also operates the elevator. So when the group is all loaded, they go back slowly to the elevator and come back up. And in the time that it's taken for them to load that group into the attraction, there's people waiting again in the foyer. And so that was called walking them down. And so you get stuck for sometimes minutes, longer than minutes at a time at load one with nothing. You're there, the doom buggies are empty and going by, and all you can do is just hear the ooh, and the wind's blowing, right? And like I said, the mansion, it squeaks and creaks, and the abyss that's there's a very large abyss that's next to the load area that's just a whole lot of nothing. It's basically an access way. You go down ladders and you're under the load belt. That's how maintenance works on the load area for that thing. And you can hear if there's like a squeak or something, it echoes in there at night if there's no one there, and you can hear things. But that was one of the ongoing persistent stories is load one or load two, you're standing there at night, you can hear children late at night laughing, and maybe it's because you hear the squeaking and it echoes or whatever. But then there was also the story that if you're at load one and you wait and you're very quiet and very patient late at night, very late at night, if you look up to where the doom buggies are disappearing into the dark, sometimes you can see the white face of a little kid peering. It just appears in the shadows.
No, screw that. That just
and
gave me the willies.
And it's peering down at you at the load area.
No.
Oh yeah, we would tell the girls that one, and I'd tell you've never seen people never want to stand with their back to that. When they're at load two, they'd be like, "Oh hell no," because you have to stand with your back to that. The up ramp there, and so we would. That's one of the first stories we would tell, and you could just sit there like, well, no, that's not right. Why would you just tell me that? Type of thing.
There's something about like the idea of looking at something in the darkness, and the time it takes for you to see it and realize what it is. That gives me the willies.
Well, sure.
They're staring at it, and it's staring at you.
Sure.
And you don't know what it is, and by the time you realize what it is, you're screwed.
It's the classic moment in Halloween when Jamie Lee's standing there, and the shape just
appears
behind her in the darkness, right? The light comes on just very, very dim, and you see the shape there. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I've heard stories of children, or at least one particular child apparition showing up in the Haunted Mansion. I've heard that story before. I don't know if it's West Coast or East Coast version, but I do know that there's a story of a child that appears in the Doom Buggy that peers behind it and looks at your Doom Buggy from the front one.
There you go.
Which is weird because you'll see it. You'll see the oh, it's just a kid.
Yeah,
mess with me or something. And then you get to the part where you get to see inside their Doom Buggy
in the mirrors, right? There's nothing there. Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah. So moving away from the mansion, there was also. And I don't know when it is, and I don't know if it's exactly true or not, but there was always the story of two brothers. It used to be a thing to try to spend the night at Disneyland overnight. Yeah. To hide in the bushes, right?
I think I know where you're going with
this. It was two brothers that were going to swim over and spend the night on Tom Sawyer Island. Yep. And one of the little brother, he didn't make it, and he drowned.
Yeah, because of the suction or the pumps underneath the water or something like that.
No,
right?
and just drowned.
He just didn't know how to
swim. Just drowned. Yeah, it was cold and just drowned on the way over there. And it's deep. I mean, rivers of America you can't touch when you're swimming. So there's always the word of that little boy's ghost haunted Tom Sawyer Island. You'd hear him in the caverns at night and laughing and jerking around like you would as a little kid, messing around on the island. So there was always that. Then there was the America Sings, the girl that was killed
crushed
in America
walls.
Sings. That attraction continued to operate after that accident happened. And so the word was like between shows when the theater was empty, when it was spinning, if you looked right before the theater turned and disappeared, you'd see the face peering out of the girl.
I don't like the faces. Yeah. I don't like the faces. I don't like the faces.
So there was that one too. And of course they called it America Screams, of course, and so that was what it was. Yes, and that's what was tied to that ghost story. Yeah.
I think there's so many to talk about, and there's so many stories that kind of revolve around instances like that, or happy memories, and it's fun to kind of go into this stuff because we spend so much time at these places. I know that Rick, you love going to theme parks. We love going to theme parks, and we have some of our happiest memories there. Who knows? Maybe at one point at the end of our lives, we'll find ourselves there and be like, hey, you're that kid who stared at me at the top of the second load at Haunted Mansion. How you doing, kid?
That's right.
You're scaring some people today? I hope you're doing good. I don't know why I turned Boston, but I did. Who knows? But thank you for coming on the show and sharing that very personal story. Like, that was fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's something that happened, and I've gone on over it a million times, in my mind, and there's just no debunking.
Yeah.
And anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a jumpy person. I'm not that guy. If you've been with me at a haunt or whatever, the joke is I'm dead inside because I just do not startle. I don't jump. Nothing. So the fact that something like that would give me the willies so bad, it was an electric shock went through my body. I was so, scared, like jarred at the moment. You think about it too much, you start questioning yourself and thinking, oh, I must be nuts or whatever. So, it's just as easy just to say, well, something happened and I can't explain it. I don't know what it was, but this is what it felt like, and just leave it go at that.
Yeah.
Not everything in life has to have, a button on the end of it. We don't have to know everything in life.
But I want to, though. I want to know.
We don't get to.
I want to have answers.
I don't think we get to, man.
Why did my bathroom door in the Queen Mary open up? Was it a ghost trying to watch me poop?
It
could have been.
Yeah, it might have been. It wasn't me, that's for sure.
Said, come play with me, Gabe.
Yeah.
Come play with me.
It was like but it was like Mr. Hanky Ghost. Hi-de-ho, come play with me, Gabe. Yes.
Yeah. But once again, thank you very much for coming along and sharing your stories. And
ghost stories are fun.
Bombs. Oh, ghost stories.
Dude, ghost stories are fun.
Yeah.
And it's appropriate that I'm here with you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Spooky here, so it's fun.
Speaking of Mr. Spooky, at the top of this episode, you were talking about Midsummer Scream 2020.
Oh, that little thing.
You said that you have some possible news to share with the audience about Midsummer Scream.
Yeah, well, Midsummer, is chugging right along. And as you know, we've announced that it's going to be 3 days this year.
Which is one of the things that has been in my review for the past 2 years.
Fantastic.
It's been saying it needs to be 3 days because there's so much to do and see, and there's plenty of entertainment that could be spread throughout those 3 days as well.
Of course.
So I'm glad that the spooky gods have shined a light on us, and now we have 3 days.
We've always known that it would come to a point where we were going to expand beyond 2 days, because there is a lot. I mean, there's so much that people just don't get to see everything, and that's by design.
Yeah.
So we figured, last year the big focus was, so the year before, the focus was really growing the Hall of Shadows, right? And then last year, the focus was taking over the entire convention center. 2 huge steps in our evolution. So then this year, it's our 5th anniversary this year, which is a big deal for us. We're very excited about that.
Yay!
And so we've already taken over the convention center. Hall of Shadows is staying where it's been in Hall C this year. And so the question is, okay, what do we do for growth? Obviously, the only answer you have left by elimination is it's finally time to pull the trigger on day 3.
Yeah.
And so we knew, we've known. I mean, it's something that we've talked about every year.
Yeah.
And because we certainly pay a lot of attention. We probably pay more attention to what our guests say than any other convention out there. Because we really are for the people, for the fans,
Oh, yeah, you guys really care about the audience and kind of what they're expecting out of the show.
Yeah.
What they want, and making sure that everyone's really happy.
Yeah.
You guys start and end each show, or each, Midsummer, on stage, introducing yourselves.
It's very important to us, yeah.
It's personal.
Yeah.
And you talk to everybody and make sure that they know that you're the faces of this. You're the people who care. You're the people who are putting on the show. And, you want it to be the best possible thing it can be, because inevitably it's a show that you would want to see as well.
Absolutely. That's how we design everything. As fans, we design the show that we would want to go to.
Yeah.
And so you bet. And so we knew that we were going to add the 3rd day. And so we've pulled the trigger on the 3rd day. Because what everybody says is, oh my God, there's so much to do, so much programming. And then the Hall of Shadows takes the whole day to do now. And they're like, I didn't get to shop very much. So the decision was, we need to give people more time to shop. Really. So on that Friday, the Hall of Shadows will not be open, but it will be show floor from 6 to 10. And then we were talking about doing different activations along the main corridor. Once you go up out of the show floor, there are the breakout rooms, and there are a few things that we are going to have active. Not ready to talk about that yet, but there will be things, and then there'll be bars and stuff set up along the concourse. So it's going to really be like a mixer. It'll be like a mixer where people can come get their lanyards and all their credentials, and that we think that's also going to really eliminate a lot of the not issues, but the immensity of the line on Saturday morning.
Yeah,
we think that if a lot of so if a lot of people get there and already have their stuff, it's going to go that much faster come Saturday morning.
We were staying at the hotel directly across from the convention center. Mm-hmm. We open up the curtains.
The Hyatt.
What was it called?
Are you talking about across the street?
Across the street.
Okay.
So, this is the front of the convention center.
Yeah.
We were over here.
Yeah.
So we open up our curtains, and it's right there. There is a line.
Oh, yeah. It goes to the waterfront. Yeah.
Zigzagging.
It goes to the water.
All the way. And I was like, Nikki, oh, my God, there's already a freaking line.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even open for another 3 hours.
It goes forever. It's pretty crazy to see that, and humbling. And so we figured that will eliminate some of that. That's our hope. There are going to be more people coming. We're expecting upwards of 40,000 people this year. But we think that that's going to be a really good way to kick Midsummer off, is to have a good night of shopping. Yeah. People can just get on the show floor and get the shopping out of their system right away. And I think the vendors are excited about that. And I just think it's a win-win for everyone. And then we're going to, of course, tease you because you'll be able to see the front of Hall of Shadows and take your pictures and everything in front. But we're going to have it curtained off so you can't see inside the Hall of Shadows.
That's fantastic.
So there you go. So the facade and Cal Hauntz is already hard at work. This will be their 4th year joining us again for the Hall of Shadows. They're going to do the entry experience again. It's going to be fantastic. I can't get too much into it, but I can say that I think it's the most ambitious thing that they've ever done, that we've ever asked them to do for us. And I know that their footprint is about 2 times the size.
Oh, really?
Of Tiki Terror. Yeah, last year was Tiki
great.
Terror. So this one is taking up quite a bit more room.
And I love Tiki Terror.
Yeah.
I think Tiki Terror was,
It was
actually
great,
a
right?
fantastic experience. Not only because I felt like that was extremely ambitious. You have a downed plane.
Yeah.
You have all these little, like, what would you call them? Little pygmy.
Oh, yeah, they were little
guys shooting
pygmies.
darts.
Yeah, the pygmies were great.
I think the one thing that I enjoyed the most was the interactive element of having the Tiki God at the front.
Oh, that
and
was Diane.
talking
Diane
with people,
Meyer.
and
She
introducing
carved that
them,
out
walking
and-
them in,
oh, yeah.
talking with them and stuff. And what was his name? Tiki something. I forgot the name. I forgot what the name of the character was. But even we had Aaron and the big Tiki guys.
Yeah, of
talking
course.
with Aaron. Aaron's like,
Yeah, she was 6 months old. She didn't know what
She
she
was
was.
just a lump of meat, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
But I love the interactive nature of it. I loved how big it felt.
Yeah.
The footprint was small, but it felt big.
Yeah.
And they were very smart in how to use that footprint. But I'm glad to hear that they're getting double the space.
Yeah, it's large what they're doing and ambitious, and it's going to be interactive and it's going to be fun, and I think you guys are going to have a blast with it. And it ties in to, we have not announced our theme yet. We do have a theme, and it's a great one. And
It is the Rick West theme.
of course.
The Rick West face on everything.
Yeah, it's my face on everything, and the slogan is "Come play with me."
Yeah.
That goes nowhere good. So, but I can tell you, and this is something that we've been chewing on and mulling over for about a year. Like I said, it's about an 18-month process for Midsummer. So actually, today at lunch, Mark, Linda, and I were talking about next year's theme already. So we're always, looking on the horizon for these things. But I can tell you, like right as last year was ending and we were starting to, as a team, look towards 2020, a lot of our White Bat team and the executive team and a lot of our fans, we really have had them pushing for more vintage Halloween. And it's kind of funny because we were kind of like, well, we are vintage Halloween, all of our logo work, everything. And so it kind of became like, well, what does that mean? And so we really have delved into that. And so I can tell you guys, without giving away the exact theme itself or what we're going for story-wise, we are really, for our 5th anniversary, embracing our roots. And just like, if you are a fan of vintage Halloween, we're going to go on that with steroids this year. And
Nice.
So it is a true embracing of who we are and what our mission statement is, and with a whole lot of love to this holiday in its heyday. So that's the first time we've talked about that publicly like that.
That's
So
really exciting because I know that you and I really, really like the style of traditional Halloween,
yeah.
old school Halloween decorations. There's
Yeah.
this weird kind of off-putting feel to them a little bit.
yeah, they're great. Yeah.
They're real spooky looking things.
Yeah.
And I really dig it. And I'm excited to kind of see what you guys have all planned up.
Yeah.
For
It's really exciting.
Summer. In all honesty, like when every year you guys have the event and we go and we attend, there's always the inevitable. I don't know how they could top what they've done.
Sure.
Incredible panels, incredible experiences. You had the Hall of Shadows, Zombie Joe's,
Yeah.
all these things, incredible vendors. It just feels like each year you top yourselves. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do this year.
We feel that pressure. I mean,
Go-
and
I'm sure you do.
make
I'm
no
sure that's
mistake,
an
that kind of thing.
overwhelming
That's like the 1-2 punch, because usually at the end of each show we're like, damn, that was really, really good. And then it's instantly followed by, oh my God, the bar was just raised so much more. How in the hell do you even like I'm sitting here spinning my wheels like the past, 6 months going, how the hell are we ever going to top that Haunted Mansion panel?
Yeah.
That was magic. That was my favorite thing actually we've ever done. was our Haunted Mansion 50th panel, and that was so damn good. But it's not a matter of going into planning things going, okay, we have to beat this, we have to be better than this. It's just as long as we keep creating, right, and we keep it fresh, and we keep bringing things that we want to see still as fans. I think that as it grows, I think just kind of by default, people will say, oh my God, that was better than last year. Because number one, it feels like a homecoming. People that have been coming for the past 4 years, they're coming now for the 5th anniversary. Yeah. And so suddenly, on top of everything else, it's the 5th anniversary. And people are coming just for that. They're excited because there's going to be the fans that have been like, yeah, baby, my 5th year with them, type of thing. And so that automatically is better than anything. That's going to be a major milestone for us.
Yeah.
Hall of Shadows, boy, we're working really hard on that right now. And I'll tell you, it's packed. I've got a full house in there already.
I never get to do all of them. I usually do like one
of course.
or two at the most.
Of course.
So freaking busy the entire weekend.
It's crazy. Last year was the only time that I've ever gone through every attraction in the Hall of Shadows.
Whoa!
And it's because after the Haunted Mansion panel, we were up in the green room with the group, and Tony Baxter said that he wanted to see some of the haunts in Hall of Shadows, and I thought to myself, 2 birds, 1 stone. Here we go. So I took Tony down, and we went through every single attraction in the Hall of Shadows together. Nice. And so that was the first time I'd ever done that, and you'd think, well, dude, that's your dealio.
Yeah, but you're busy.
But yeah, so of course I see everything while it's being built and all that, but it's not the same as seeing it in operation. And so, no, but it is important. I mean, I certainly this year will obviously do the same thing. Not with Tony, but I mean, I'll go through and see things myself. But Hall of Shadows this year is going to go off, man. We have a lineup of people returning that were some of the favorites from last year, and we've got a whole new crop of people that have been like wanting to do it for a couple of years that are finally there's space and they're ready to pull the trigger. So we've got some really cool, ambitious new haunters coming in too.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's what it's all about.
Keeping it fresh and just giving people that canvas. And I'm really pushing. I want a lot of young haunters. That's my favorite is to see what the young haunters do when they come in there, because that's really their moment to shine. And so I get very excited about that. So we do have young haunters that are coming, and it's going to be really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think the one thing also that kind of sets Midsummer Scream apart from the rest and pretty much like any convention, and I think really adds to the entire experience, and this is nothing that you've actually done other than bringing people together, is that the people who, and I've said this on the show before, the people who are covered in blood and the horrible makeup and all this stuff, dressed in all black, are some of the nicest people that you're ever going to meet. And everyone is so inviting, so welcoming, so inclusive, and everyone's just friends. So bringing these people together feels like you said, a homecoming.
Yep.
It is like a family reunion every single year with some of the best people that you know.
It is.
And a lot of that you could attribute to the experience, and that adds to that, oh, this year was so good because I got to see all my friends.
Yes.
I got to go through the haunted houses with my friends.
Yes.
I got to have a drink with my friends.
Yep.
We went to this panel together. It's all associated with the idea of spending time together and bonding over the one thing that we all love.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that is a big thing that has going for it, because I don't know any other convention like Midsummer that can do that.
This is true. We have people that talk to us all the time that, they're veterans of Comic-Con or they go to D23, all this stuff.
Maybe like an anime convention or something where like a small niche.
They just tell us that there's nothing out there like that. That Midsummer has this intangible something that's in the air, that it hangs heavy in the air, that you can just feel the love and the excitement, and it's the haunt community. I'm telling you, it is genuinely the best community in the world is what we have here in Southern California.
It doesn't feel competitive. You know what I mean? Like you're at Comic-Con, oh, I know more about this movie than you do.
Right.
Oh, I know more about this cartoon than you do.
Oh, we have to go buy this thing, and
yeah, I need to go buy this. I need to go buy that.
Yeah.
There's none of that there. Yeah. It's camaraderie. It's, hey, we all love this one thing.
It's all good times.
Let's celebrate it together and have good times. And that's what it feels like every single year to me. And I love being able to see you in your environment and doing your thing, because although you're running around with your hair standing up
crazy,
and going crazy and trying to handle people, I know you love it, and I love seeing you in that environment. I love seeing my friends in the haunted houses. I love, sitting down with friends and catching up. Hey, did you see this panel? Did you see that panel? Did you catch that one?
Yeah,
and seeing all the the not scare actors, just the
Decayed Brigade too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
There's so much. There's so many variables to Midsummer that to me makes it much more approachable and much more warming than anything that I think I can go to.
Yeah.
What I think is really cool is Midsummer, even though it is a large-scale, serious convention now, I think Midsummer is a fantastic beginners convention because everybody is so welcoming. We have people that come from all over the world by themselves to Midsummer, right? And I think it's also a perfect convention for veterans of cons. You have people like Sean and Carmel, Parks and Cons. They go to a gazillion conventions all over every year, and yet they say that Midsummer is one of their favorites because it's so different than anything out there, because it's so welcoming, and it is like a homecoming and a community. So I think that what we have is really special, because not only do we have a really huge target audience that's it's niche, but it's not niche at all, where, people that are 5 to 105 can come and have a really great time.
Yeah, and it's the theme park fans,
yes.
but it's also the married couple in their 50s that love just doing a great haunted house and want ideas for the next year. So it's literally it spans all ages, all demographics.
It's a weird demographic we've built. Yeah, it's a very strange.
It's a very wide.
Oh yeah, it's a huge swath.
Yeah,
it's just about everybody.
Big.
It's if people say, I don't like haunted houses, I get scared. Well, we've got over 320 vendors on the show floor. Then you can spend your entire weekend shopping.
That's my mom. My mom absolutely hates getting scared.
There you go.
But she came because we were doing our podcast, so I was like, "Hey guys, come out and see it. You don't have to go in haunted houses." And she had a really good time going through the Hall of Shadows, watching Decayed Brigade, going through the shops. Even though my dad inevitably made her go through a haunted house, and she dug her heels on the floor and screamed bloody murder every step of the way.
You probably heard her,
Yeah, you probably heard her. Yeah, you probably did hear her. She's the person who screams when there's nothing going on, and then screams even louder when something is going on.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
No, but so excited. Thank you for dropping a little bit of information about Midsummer 2020.
We can't wait.
We are beyond excited. We are planning the trip already.
Great.
Booking our hotels.
Booking our hotels, getting the days off from work, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So very
keep your
excited.
eyes peeled, because if it's not yet, I don't know, I haven't been on the site this week, but imminently we're going to be putting our hotel partners up with the discounts and all that stuff on there,
and that's what we did last time.
For your listeners, also check the website and watch our social media, because we will, and those rooms will sell out, those blocks sell out very quickly, but very soon, if not already, by the time this airs, look at the website, because we are going to have our partners up very, very soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Very excited. You hear that here first. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled on MidsummerScream.org.
That's right. And then on our socials, we're on Twitter.
And sign up for the newsletter.
There you go. We're on. Yeah, absolutely. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And then the mothership is at MidsummerScream.org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you so much for coming on the show. How can people follow you and look at all the fun stuff that you talk about?
Awesome. Well, I'm on Instagram, which I do Instagram more than Twitter, but I try to do different content on both. But the cool thing is my handle is the same on both. So it's Rick West 999, as in 999 happy haunts from my Haunted Mansion days.
The 1000 is the one that handed that.
No, 1000 is what I left there after I felt.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very active actually on Instagram. I do live broadcasts like I used to do on Periscope as TPA.
Yeah.
I do that on Instagram now, and so that's fun to do. Instagram, follow me, and then also Twitter. I'm not on Facebook, but those two social platforms I'm very active on.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. It was spooky fun.
Yes, it was.
It was good. Well, let's do it again in about what 6, 7 months we'll be doing all sorts of spooky stuff, right?
Yeah, but you're going to come on in like 2 years at this point,
Yeah.
right?
That's right. But I'll be back in 2 years to talk about it. Yeah.
Seriously, get chills anytime I think about his story. Like, it's not funny. Like, no, don't touch me! Don't touch me!
I put my hand on his shoulder.
No, got chills. Don't touch me. No, that story is and Rick is just a absolutely incredible storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
So that helps a lot, but also just the details behind it in knowing that it was simply impossible for anyone to be behind him.
Yeah.
Like, that's really bothering me a lot. And all the other ghost stories that we're able to find and people who were able to share, thank you everybody who were able to, contribute to this episode. I know that I asked quite a few times, and a lot of people did send him some really fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we covered some stuff that people have heard of before.
Probably.
Like,
And-
like Mr. One Way or whatever his name was.
Yeah, and after you've listened to this, if you have one that you didn't send before, you didn't know we were looking, send us an email.
We'll share it.
Yeah,
It'll be fun. Share more ghost stories like crazy.
yeah, why not?
Yeah. So hopefully you guys really enjoyed that episode of our show today. It was a long time coming. I know that I teased it in season 3. And I was trying to gather stories up over a period of time.
And then we were trying to record with Rick. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of moving pieces to this one. So I'm glad everybody stuck around for this and really, really hope you enjoyed it just as much as we did.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to another episode. We should have another episode up in another 2 wees. That should be
Gonna
extra
be a
fun
one. I'm excited.
I think. Do you want to talk about what it is really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one was Nikki's idea, and I actually think this was a really, really fun idea, and it should bring up a lot of emotions. It should be very conflicting.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about this one.
We are doing our own version. We keep on going back and forth on the name, but essentially we are doing F, Marry, Kill of theme park
attractions.
Well, not even just attractions.
Well, attractions, because attractions consist of rides, shows, like all those things.
Uh-huh.
When I say attractions, that's what it is.
Some of mine are foods.
That's fun.
I have lots of categories. I'm super excited.
Okay, well, it's theme park attractions, but then subcategory : also foods.
Also foods.
So we were kind of bouncing back and forth on like what to name it, because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to say F, Marry, Kill.
Date, marry, kill.
I don't really want to use that
Yeah.
terminology, and I've been bouncing back and
but
forth.
Nothing else seems severe enough because I want to make the point that one of these things is going away forever. One of these things you can sometimes do, and one of these things is all the time. So I wanted just to get that across.
Sometimes, always, never.
Sometimes, always, never. Yeah, seems a little.
It's
lame.
not. It's not as good.
No.
It's not as definitive and like doesn't have
Yeah.
a punch to it.
Yeah.
Because initially I wanted to do like I wanted to do demolish, seasonal, and classic like
But that
like
doesn't make
attractions.
sense with some of my
but
categories.
yeah, it wouldn't make sense with like food.
So I think F, Marry, Kill, or Date, Marry, Kill, just to encompass all of the different categories.
Yeah, we'll just stick with Date, Marry, Kill.
Yeah.
I just can't say F, Marry, Kill that many times on this show.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
even though I have a potty mouth, I don't have
You all know.
not comfortable.
You all know what we mean. You all know.
You know.
You know.
You know. Anyway, that's the idea for the next episode, so stay tuned for that. That should be super fun.
I know. I'm super excited.
Expect a lot of me getting really mad and upset. And expect a lot lot of Nikki going, like evil laughing, like she's, putting me into a position.
I wrote my categories for you like 4 weeks ago. Like I am
You're
ready.
prepped and ready.
And
You're prepped and ready.
they're going
All of
to-
mine are in my head.
Yeah, they're gonna-
and I have to write them down.
They're gonna make you go nuts because you're gonna have to kill some stuff you don't want to kill.
No, that's not going to be fun. I'm really not looking forward to it yet. I'm looking forward to it. So, you have that to look forward to, guys. So, once again, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Theme Park Duel podcast. Like we said earlier in the episode, if you haven't already, make sure you head on over to the review section of whatever platform you're listening on and leave us a written review, a 5-star review, whatever you can to help us out. It's an easy, free way of helping the show out. because it makes it easier for people to find us and enjoy us like you are right now. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about the show, you could always email us at
themeparkduo@gmail.com.
And if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Theme Park Duo.
Yeah.
As always, guys, thank you again. And always remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.